15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Rashid, Lions, Owls, Elephants podcast, and I have a very special guest by popular request and demand, my brother 19 Keys.
Man, it's a blessing to be here in the mothership, man.
We in the mothership, baby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you feeling, my brother?
Man, I feel great. I feel incredible, actually, man. I feel, optimistic, you understand me, even with all that's going on.
Right. Tell me the roots of your optimism.
My plans. You know, I think of it like this. People think about the future a lot, right? And a person be like, what you think the future gonna be? That's the wrong way to think about it. The question is, what are you gonna create the future to be?
Correct.
Because otherwise, you're trying to figure out somebody else's plan for your time.
Right.
So for me, it's saying that what are my plans, right? And my plans are very optimistic. I don't have bleak plans for my future. And even though that there's so many different things that's happened and we almost living in a dystopian future at this particular point. You take us back 2 years ago and this looks like a parallel universe to our world at first.
Right.
But for me, it's about, all right, creating strategies. And strategies is about having options. You understand me? If life is a war zone, what's your options based on the facts that's just been presented? Okay, well, this happened. All right, let me just plan. This is how I got to move. And as long as I have a path that's clear as far as what I want to do and I can understand what I need to execute, it actually makes me excited.
Right.
You understand me? It's like studying an opponent and, some people can get bleak on the outcome that maybe they feel like they can never beat this opponent. You understand me? Or they could be... That they can find some solace in the fact that they know what's gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's the surprise that really hurts the feelings. You understand me? Like, damn, you thought you was gonna win.
Yeah.
Or you can go in there with the spirit of there's nothing gonna stop me.
Right.
You understand me? Maybe I feel like my opponent is impervious to, my skill set and my skill level, but I'm gonna find something that's beyond my observations. You understand me? Which is my spirit, and I think spirit conquers all.
I feel you, bro. I share that spirit of optimism as well.
Yeah.
And I think that I have so much optimism because of, the course of my life. A lot of people will say, well, Mike Rashid speaks from his perspective. That's the only perspective I have
right.
actual history with. You know what I mean? I can speculate and, extrapolate, but I'd rather talk from my perspective because a lot of times, especially when it comes to young dudes, my perspective comes from situations very similar to theirs, and they don't even realize a lot of times a lot worse, right? I grew up in Brooklyn, New York during the crime wave, the 80s and 90s. It was the worst part of New York City's history. You know what I'm saying? So I feel fortunate to have come out of that with some battle scars, but in a good way. You know what I'm saying? It didn't turn me out. It didn't corrupt me. You know what I'm saying? It allowed me to see how dark humanity is, but also I seen a lot of light, and I seen a lot of strength. Like my mother was in the thick of it all, but protected me. You know what I'm saying? I had a bubble of like protection from all the chaos. You know what I mean? So, that gave me a certain level of a self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? But, coming from having nothing and being able to build to a level of wealth and, being in a 1% in the most expensive state in this country, right? People don't realize every American is in the top 5% of the world. You know what I'm saying? We are very fortunate in this country, and I really wish that people who don't have or people going through it really had a bigger, broader perspective of how things could be and understood the opportunity at our fingertips. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that requires. Of course, it's easier said than done, right? Because you taking accountability, time in the history of our country is one thing of as a standard. Let's say that citizens of America are at the top 5% in the world, but you don't want to be at the bottom of that 5%.
True.
Because then it feels like you're at any other place in the world. Right. The bottom is the bottom regardless, right? And so I think that that's where people have a bleak outlook on life, because they look at so many generations of people who have been at the bottom of that top 5, right? And in reality, there's a multitude of different reasons. You understand me? Like, we ain't got to list all of the reasons we have been victims in this country. And then there's some of us who I believe that we're blessed. And we're blessed because you are blessed to have this outcome of this mindset, right? To where, given the amount of things it pushes you further to create those opportunities to be at that top, you understand me, upper echelon in society. Some people, they're not built and designed in that manner to where they can take on all of the atrocities and be fueled by it, right? For some people, they think about the outlook on how the world is unfair and how unfortunate it is that we grew up in this society, and they wish that they had privileges beyond the privileges they have, right?
Right.
You can't change history. You understand me? I mean,
you can.
You can. If you
it
got
happens all the time.
That's a privilege.
Right. True.
But to that point, it's like the powerful do control history to where, some people are grown adults and they don't have knowledge of self. They don't have knowledge of time, right? It's history and then it's time, right? And the things that have actually truly occurred in time.
Right.
And then you have, the scripters and the writers and the rulers of the wars are the one who records the story to tell the tale. So they always tell it in their image. Right. You understand me? But as they say, God is made in the image.
What you said is very powerful. The fact that the powerful creates history, right? Yes. The powerful creates history. Powerful people write history, right? And oftentimes people look at that as just one monolithic group of people that were powerful and that have been carving history. But I think that some people are realizing their power. Absolutely. And are writing history and rewriting history, you know what I mean? So,
but see, here's the thing about it though, because you can write the story now, but and these is like winning battles, but whoever wins the war controls the narrative. So it's like the question becomes is, during those times where we can go back and we can say certain parts of history were whitewashed, right? Or even different parts of the world where Genghis Khan may have rewritten somebody's history because he won a war, right? Scipio Africanus or anybody that decided that I want to write it in the way I want to because this is part of victory. The truth, you understand me, is it exists in an energy, right? But it's always been said that a lie can be told so much that it becomes a truth. Right. You understand me? Because people believe it, they observe it, they live it. And we live in a society where more people believe lies than truth, right? And more people care about what they feel more than what the reality of it is. Like if a person was to discover a truth that goes against belief, you understand me, creates this dogma to where they like, that cognitive dissonance, like, I'd rather go with the things that make me who I am.
Make me feel good.
You understand me?
I talk about that a lot.
Rather than change my absolutes.
I talk about that a lot, man. I tell people, I feel like I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like it's up to people like us who have access to media, right? Because social media is media.
Absolutely.
So, and I always tell people like, yo, do not marry your feelings and your beliefs because your beliefs can be false. Your personal truth is not an objective truth. Truth is truth, and we should accept it as that, the bottom line. So a lot of these things, like I feel like it's important, at least on my part, to like keep misogynists and the conscience of people who tap into me. You know what I'm saying? Keep letting them know, like, yo, just because you believe that. And a lot of things is that their family believed it. They're, you know what I'm saying? Their great grandparents. Right. So it's like just like black people subscribing to the Democratic Party. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, and I did a post one day, and I made it very simple. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I don't know why we subscribe to that. And I started pointing out, empirical facts and reasons why they have been of detriment to us, right? And I was expecting all the backlash and the hurt feelings. But when you lay something out nice and rational and simple and easily digestible, they're like, damn, he's right.
Well, sometimes you get people that are grateful because they've been so miseducated.
Right.
You understand me? And then you got people who don't care about the facts.
Right.
No,
that's true.
They just be like, well, this is what I think now, right? People supersede logic with emotion.
Right.
You understand me? When it's supposed to be the opposite.
Right.
You're supposed to supersede the emotion with a logic.
Correct.
And we live in a backward society to where people want to feel good rather than actually be in truth.
Right.
Now, I'm a speaker of truth. You're a speaker of truth. And I'm going to always be a speaker of truth because that's what builds a better world. Truth builds a better world, not the lies, not deceit. Even people feel like they protect you with lies. You understand me? But lies build a house that eventually crumbles.
Right.
You understand me? It has to fall.
It makes I got to a point to where, it was a time we talked about this, that I was a fugitive and I had to not necessarily lie to everybody, but walk them in a direction of lies. Whenever they would ask me about, like, how'd you get here? It is. I couldn't tell them. So I had to, create an aura of a life that wasn't mine. And when the marshals came and got me, I was so relieved. I know it sounds weird that I'm relieved that they found me, but the first thing I said to myself, I ain't got to lie to nobody no more, right? And then, to be honest, it was a process of like really breaking that, because 7 years of that, you know what I'm saying? So I got to a point, man, and just a certain type of personal enlightenment with meditation and things of that nature to where I really started loving myself to an extent that I hadn't before. And I loved myself too much to lie to people. Like I love myself too much to allow that kind of filth to come out of my mouth. I love myself too much to do something that I would have to be dishonest about. You know what I'm saying? And I love myself to only deal with people that I love, and I wouldn't lie to them and deceive them, because that's a hurtful thing. It's a very disrespectful thing to lie to somebody. When I'm lied to, it drives me crazy. I'm like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you're right. A lie, people, I've gotten to the point to where if I have a certain belief, I'm never married to it. If I hear the truth, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the goal is to be a truth seeker.
Right.
You understand me? Like to seek truth in all things. Like when I used to do my research and studying just different ideologies, religions, philosophies, I would always try to find two opposing parties that disagreed with each other and figure out what did they agree on. Because I can usually utilize that as a truth. You understand me? Like, damn, these people were our enemies. You understand me? But in this particular aspect, they agree with each other. Right. You understand me? That's just a little Shopify money.
Yeah, I feel you.
A little Shopify money.
One thing I was doing last year, I felt myself like the dam got holes in it, trying to plug my finger in the holes, right? Trying to fix shit. And because people were just jumping out the window left and right on their misguided political views and things of that nature, right? And I'm not a politics guy. I understand politics, so that's why I'm not a politic guy, right? And, people were holding on to these beliefs that were just like, bro, I don't know where you're getting this from. So I would find myself in hostile territory often, having discourse, right? And my goal was to, flip people. You know what I'm saying? I have zero desire to preach to the choir or be talking in the echo chamber.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Yeah, I've gotten to a point now, I don't want to debate with you. You understand me? And I always tell people, listen, I can't lose a debate because I don't debate. You already won when you want to start debating. You understand me? I'm an educator at the end of the day, right? If I find it a particular subject, like to me, debating is a sport, right? Like it's something that you do for fun, essentially.
It is.
You understand me? And for the most part, because it's not actually arriving to anything impactful. It's about who can articulate their perspective the best.
Right.
And sometimes a person may not even be right, but they are good enough to trick up their opponent, like Socrates.
Right. Well, speaking of Socrates, there was a class of Greeks and Romans called the sophist, and that's like the root word of sophisticated. And back the sophists were just, their job was to argue.
Yeah.
right or wrong. That's like what lawyers come from, right? Because look at the law; it's just an interpretation of these words.
Yeah.
Who can argue the interpretation of
That's
these
a
laws
fact.
right here? You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
not justice. Because if it was justice, court, it wouldn't be no 2 weeks of
shit.
2 weeks of a trial. You know what I'm saying?
You know, when I was going through my case, that's what I studied. I was studying Socrates. I was studying the art of deceit, right? The art of deception, right? And it's a book that gives you a breakdown, right, on all of the court jargon and how it goes back to ancient Greek philosophers and how they used to utilize, you know, strategies to win arguments. You understand me? And what it did was it allowed me to really hear and see what was going on in that courtroom, right? And once you get into that mindset, then you can start getting in the game to strategize as well.
Right.
Because it creates a world of perspective, right? And the world that they're creating is for the jury. You understand me? So we knew that certain things couldn't be said, certain language couldn't be done because we had to paint this picture of innocence, right? And you can paint a picture of guilt on an innocent man and innocent on a guilty man, right? So no, justice is about the word.
Yeah.
You understand me? It's not about what the truth of the situation actually is.
It's not about justice at all. It's a
Hell
legal
no.
system.
Blushes is blind.
Right.
You understand me? Lady Justice
Correct.
ain't see none of that.
Correct. So I got a question for you. So a lot of people they've heard you speak. You have a fucking powerful brain. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Likewise.
Thank you. What do you do to sharpen your mind? What do you do to continually grow and develop yourself as a person?
Me, I like to study, man. You know, and it's in these days, you know, I've gotten to a particular level of success, and it can make a person comfortable, right? But I always keep myself uncomfortable.
Right.
You understand me? And I'm always studying new fields because if you understand your brain, it needs to be stretched and challenged in order to grow. You understand me? If your brain ain't stretched and challenged, then you become dull.
Right.
You can only recite the things you said yesterday or years ago. But for me, I'm
Kind
always
of like Kevin Samuels.
yeah.
Look,
Now you done brought a name, but we're gonna have to get into that later.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. But
it's gonna get good now.
Just a segue to what you were saying, they just came to my mind because I was thinking one day I was like, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
This guy say the same thing every day and it's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Carry on.
But see, I'm like a scientist, though. Like the fields and studies that I'm into right now, they are constantly progressing.
Right.
So I don't even have the luxury of just reciting old regurgitated information. You understand me? The crypto market, the NFT market, the technology, right? Even, you know, if I'm talking about politics or things that's happening to the world, it requires me to be up to date.
Right.
Right. If I'm talking about health consciousness, I got to be up to date on these things, which requires me to study because even if you study years ago, that information ain't so fresh on your head that you can just give a breakdown on it so that a person can be educated.
Right. And the way things are today, things change.
So much.
It changes. Marketing, for instance, in business.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for people who take marketing in school because by the time you're done and get a job,
Don't get me on school.
it's completely different.
School
The
is
tactics are different. You
Listen,
know what I mean?
school creates some of the worst learners, period, because it kills your process of creative learning. The one thing that I've learned to do better is to become a better teacher, right? If you tell your student everything, then you're robbing them of their ability to go learn it, right? So it's almost to this point that the more you teach a student, the less they learn how to learn. You understand me? So they don't have to go through that process of
Figuring it out.
figuring things out.
And that's brain exercise. That's
Absolutely.
strengthening your brain at certain levels. I agree with you. I do that with my son all the time. I'm like, he wanted to start a corporation for his merch company, right? I said, all right, do the research on what's necessary.
Right.
And then I want to know the steps. You know what I'm saying?
You got to leave blanks.
Correct. I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
What are you getting out of that?
We have too much privilege with technology right now. I give my students, I give you 10 strategies on something, and I intentionally going to leave something out, which I know is going to prop a question, but that question ain't for me. It's for you to go seek answer and then execute. Number one, once you got to put in some work, now you got skin in the game. And it's
Correct.
going to make you want to finish.
It's more important to you.
Yeah. So I'm telling a young brother the other day, was it yesterday? He said, Keith, how do I become that type of person? You understand me? Like, who finish what they start? Like, I'll be picking up things. I got a lot of stuff going on. Like, give me the secret. And I'm saying, bro, you just got to drop your nuts and be a man about it.
Right.
And I had to say it in that manner because you got to understand, like, there's a ability that men have when we can find a why that's logical and we can just keep going towards it.
Right.
It's not the fact that the emotion of fear, procrastination, worry, insecurities don't come up, but do you have courage? Do you have confidence, right? Do you have fearlessness that supersede the emotions to get you to your point? And if we can get, especially young males, to understand how to tap in and utilize the full power of their masculine side, then they can execute more. Because you got all this masculine, like, you got to think about it as a power. Like, you're not even tapping into your masculine potential, right? There's certain things that make us biologically and energetically different from women, right? And you're not even tapping into that aspect of it to execute, right? It's like, it's no reason that any man needs to walk around weak. We have the potential to become very strong.
Yeah, man. I've had people in my ecosystem at times that, you know, will work for me in certain capacities and will walk into my kitchen cowered under. I'm like, what are you doing? What do you know what I mean? And this one particular guy, I was like, what do you do? What do you think? I'm gonna hit you? Like, who? I'm a maniac? Like, what are you doing? I made him take up boxing, and my guy at the boxing, y'all said, yo, spar him and beat his ass. Like, he got to feel that, you know what I'm saying? That's why I put my son in boxing at a young age. My son is a smart, clever person. He needs to be punched in the face. You know what I'm saying? And I know that sounds counterintuitive for a father who loves his child, but I love my child so much, he needs to fight and feel adversity. He needs to. I would be doing him an injustice by coddling him. That I wouldn't love him as much if I coddled him.
Build character.
Correct.
You understand me?
So I know how, I mean, and he's lucky. Like, I had to really fight. I don't want him fighting, you know what I'm saying? But I want him to know how to fight and defend himself and protect others, you know?
It's something to that, though, that you have, like, just being set out in the neighborhood and whatever happens, happens.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's a rite of passage.
Bro, think about this. When we were children, out and about,
It's crazy.
we had no cell phones. They couldn't keep tabs on us.
No emergency contact.
Nothing. Kids now, we track them. They got phones.
I mean, they can record encounters with the police.
Right.
You understand me? You get your ass beat by the police at first.
Right.
Ain't no recording of that. You just got your word, man. What happened to you, man?
And we turned out all right. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's always something. It's the variables always change, but
their issues are different.
Yeah, it's just different. You know what I'm saying?
Number one, they got so much exposure to information. It's making them sensitive, right? They got different type of agendas that exist in today's time. They have a different perspective on masculinity, manhood, rites of passages, right? A multitude of different issues that exist today that are more emotional, right? Intellectually complex, right? A lot of the issues that we dealt with, you know, growing up in the streets, it was very primal. You understand me? Like, you do tap into the best sides of being a man to overcome certain things. Some things they dealing with on social media have nothing to do with manhood whatsoever. You got to figure it out as a human in this new world on how to interact and be good at it. So it's like they got a new complexity of issues that they deal with, and that's why you have to give them a myriad of experiences so that they can know themselves, because knowledge of self, you have to have experience of self to go through so many situations. See, like, I was talking to my bro I knew from Oakland named Haas, and he knew me since I was a child, and we was laughing so much because he like, bro, you know, what we went through is like, that won't exist for no other generation in the same capacity. So I can't tell you how to be like me, because the amount of experiences and situations that I've been in to where I had to test myself, feel myself, right, and see what I would or wouldn't do is what prepared me and built me to be who I am. So the streets and the adversity prepares you to build character, to become this phenomenal human being, if you can get on that other side, because everybody don't come out, you know, flawless.
No,
some people, they go through the roughness and you can see every cut.
And they're damaged for life. One thing you said that's so real, what we dealt with was very primal, right? And I take that with pride, right? Because what I'm navigating now in my life now in the business world, corporate world, and some of these conversations or boardrooms or whatever that I'm dealing with, and I feel like my great neutralizer, right, is the fact that I've tapped into that primal side that none of these guys have. You know what I'm saying?
That instinct.
None of these guys have. So I always have an edge. You know what I mean? And they know it. and they treat me accordingly. And it's not like an intimidation thing, right? But it's something there that they're not unfamiliar with that I can recognize that always gives me an advantage. It gives me an edge. You know what I mean? I love it.
Yeah, it's you being able to go more in depth inside yourself than any other subject. You understand me? A person may know more than you about some corporate thing or marketing or branding or some documentation or whatever it may be, a supply chain. But when it comes to the experience you have of self and the more depth that you can go, there's no competition there because this person has went deep in themselves and dealt with the darkest places and then came out and become a light, right? You can't compete with that, and you can see that. And this person has more experience at life and being a human being, period.
Right.
You understand me? So that depth is unfuckwittable.
It's synonymous to like our soldiers, like a Marine, a Green Beret or whatever, that sees the worst of humanity has to offer. You know what I'm saying? Also have brothers at arms that he went to war with. You know what I'm saying? So you building a type of brotherhood and bond that is not taught in any institution. You know what I'm saying? And you also seeing the type of carnage and filth and absence of humanity that most people don't even know exists.
Levels of human nature. It's like prisons. A person that go to prison and they see those levels of humanity that exist. That's not like everything is experience in life. But some people go through the same mundane experiences over and over and over. Doesn't require your brain to create new connections.
Correct.
Doesn't require your spirit to challenge itself, to grow. Because your spirit is that flame that either go be lit or is go die out. And some things that will kill in one person's spirit allows another person's flame to grow. So it's like nothing in this room could kill my spirit, but there's things inside this room that can be said, some things that can happen with a deal that may kill another person's spirit. And they realize that they have nothing that can kill you in here.
Right.
You understand me? And when you're dealing with a I want to call it a beast just for lack of better terms, you understand me, or God, of course. You understand me? That whom which you can't harm and you can't do nothing against. You know what things you could do, but you still know that's not enough.
And
this
God don't fear it. He doesn't care. You know what I'm saying?
But see, the fearlessness is probably the most biggest thing about it.
Right.
The more fearless, because fearlessness is psychotic to a person who has so many fears.
Correct.
Like you walk into so many situations without the thought of feeling like you're going to be harmed and the ability to prevent that harm, right? Because when you're fearless, you live in life at its highest level.
I say this all the time. I love you said that, and I tell people all the time. It's fearlessness. It takes. I feel like it's the most honorable way to live because ultimate fear that everyone has is death, right? Yeah. And when you don't fear that, and you don't fear consequences because your actions are right and exact, you're living at your highest frequency.
That's right.
You're an admirable person. Just like 300, the movie 300, historically is garbage, but as a movie it's great.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Such an honorable fucking story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love that. When his wife says, Spartan, come back with your shield or on it. Yeah. I'm like, say less. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I love shit like that, and I wish that these movies were more popular in today's society.
Those principles were more popular.
Those principles, exactly. But see, we could teach with entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because a lot of those principles are no longer coveted anymore.
Right.
Those principles of bravery, like you're gonna have some, intellectual these days look at it and find some issue with it and say that's toxic or that's some philosophical way that they're going to break it down and really, garbage all of those values of being a man.
Right.
And here's the thing about it, right? There will exist a generation who will raise up and decide to be men again. Decide that the rules and the world that they living in, you understand me, is unbearable. Right, and those valuables, because that energy has to return. Right. You understand me? We live under the laws of polarity.
It's here. It's just not popular.
But at the same time, it's not popular everywhere, but it's popular. It's condensed because you popular, I'm popular, right? And other individuals who tap into it are popular. Lesser versions of it aren't popular.
I got a question for you. Do you find like we're in a world of influencers and people shit on that word, but listen, if you got 50,000 people following you, 10,000, you're an influencer. You influence people. In this world of influencers, do you ever find some people shy away from you? You ever, for no good reason, maybe they're uncomfortable around that energy?
Yeah. First, I want to start with the word influencer because I like the word influential. You know what I mean? And it's funny how you can change one word has a stigmata and the other one is still excellence.
Correct.
You understand me? But it's the same exact thing.
Right.
You understand me? But society has a way of castigating and putting energy on certain words so that it minimizes the impact and how people see themselves.
It's all the marketing for that word.
You're talking about people who have a magnetism and a power above the rest of society, essentially. Not that it makes you better,
Right.
but just by the results of the numbers. There's
Correct.
people trying to figure out to do what you've done. Some people are organic, some people hack the system, right? But to be influential gives you a power to control consciousness through attention.
True.
So it's important to, just look at, you can change it from influencer to say, yes, I am an influential human being.
Right.
And that is already such more of a dignified way of looking at it.
And when one try to poke at it, like,
Yeah.
well, I have X amount of people that follow me, consume my products and
Yes.
content on a daily. So
Yeah.
I think that would be considered influential.
Yeah, I'm very influential. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But to that point,
Yeah. Do you ever come across people who they try to like they can't share a spotlight with you? They try to shy away from you.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because the way I look at it is we two different type of lights, two different
Right.
type of frequencies.
Right.
You only go lose when you try to compare.
Right.
Like, I would hate to not be me and then trying to compete with me. You understand me? Because it's going to be an impossibility. You're going to always find yourself losing at a war that you can't win. You understand me? Anytime you think you're getting an inch, you also realize, like, damn, just the very fact I'm comparing myself to somebody that I see as greater, I got to be losing. So that exists because also there's the experience you had before social media and then what it makes you once you get a platform, right? Like, there's a lot of men who didn't have influence with women. You understand me? And then once they get a platform, they have attention that comes with these assets. Now they have influential capital. You understand me? And that comes with the lack of experience because with that comes a responsibility, right? Insecurities that may pop up. I got a lot of brothers. So it prepared me because all my brothers, you know what I mean? We're a good looking bunch. So my ideas of thinking that I'm the only good looking man in the world and the only one who can get, you understand me, or have that influence, with the ladies can be easily put to the test when I got other brothers that have similar energies as myself.
Right.
So it gave me a more realistic, and then I don't have to have envy or jealousy of my brother. I can share the earth with him. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Like, it's cool. Like,
are you familiar with? There's a lot of content creators who exist in the space. You ever heard of red pill, blue pill?
Yeah.
When it comes to women and dating and all of that stuff, are you familiar with that?
I mean, I know red pill and blue pill of the conscious community. I'm not sure which that one is.
Okay, it's interesting because I just was introduced to this a couple months ago, right? I was doing a podcast with some brothers. Shout out to Fresh and Fit in Miami, and I had no idea this world existed. I thought it was just fresh and fit, like being fly, fitness, business. You know what I'm saying? I had no idea it was about dating, right? And just by some of the questions that they asked me, and I answered truthfully how I felt, in regards to women and the opposite sex, man, the comments were very disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
They were like, he's a simp. Mike's a simp. He's beta. I'm like, pardon me? Pardon me? Like me being an influential person for so long, I've done so many like events and seminars and talks and expos. I've met so many lines of people. Not once has someone ever said anything disrespectful to me. It's always love, pictures, you know what I'm saying? But online, these guys are calling me disrespectful names. Like, wow, how do you feel about yourself that you can only say this on the computer, right? For one. So let's put that to the side. Let's get to the moral of this. The fact that I have such a high regard and respect and admiration for women makes me a simp.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I was exposed to a whole world called the red pill, who, you know, we understand women, what women need or want or whatever. And, you know, it felt like, and I'm not saying this is what it is, but to me, it feels like a men's support group of, you know, maybe you haven't had your way with women. You know what I'm saying? And there's a bunch of different creators, content creators that give you points how to deal with women. And I think that even though there's a lot of sense in some of the stuff they say, some truth in some of the stuff they say, the tactics, right? The method is kind of dirty. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of grimy. And the position that they hold and the way they communicate with women is just disrespectful. It's not tolerable in my world. You know what I'm saying? I don't speak to women disrespectfully. You know, I protect women. And they be like, oh, he sound like he was raised by his mother. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. And I'm like, my mother's stronger than you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea. You know, I get a huge source of power from my mother. You know what I'm saying? That's the earth. So it's just fascinating, bro. But I was curious if you've never heard or come across any of that shit.
You know, one thing I feel like people filter aspects of themselves when they come around me, because I think that they think I'm regard them as weak or so. So certain things don't make my radar. You understand me? And my mom told me about, you know, I guess people divide the world in simps and pimps. You understand me? And my mom always told me that pimps were faggots because they didn't really love women. You understand me? So I never wanted to be a pimp.
Right.
You understand me? And then you got players, and then you got, you know, all these different things, gentlemen, and then you got gods. You understand me? And we do live in a society to where young men were not fathered correctly. And then if you did have a father, don't mean he gave you the game about, you know, women. You understand me? How to treat them right and protect them.
He probably didn't have it.
Yeah, he didn't have it to give.
Yeah.
So it's yours to learn as you grow.
Right.
So I empathize, but only to a certain extent. Because when you got a grown-ass man who decides that this is the way that he wants to live, you understand me, and he'll put energy behind that, then that's detrimental.
Yeah.
You understand me? And I don't believe in that. I think it is some sucker shit, quite frankly. I think a lot of men, you know, they lack belief in themselves, so they can't deal with any challenges from women whatsoever. And a good woman go challenge you for growth.
As she should.
Yeah.
Right?
But if you don't have the intellectual capacity to deal with that, that's
and I love the challenge.
Shrink you.
And I love it, right?
Yeah.
I love any kind of challenge. Here's the thing, like, so what I was trying to communicate to this group of people is this. Like, look, don't blame your shortcomings with women on women. It's on you. There was a time that I couldn't have the types of women that I wanted. I had to qualify myself to get there, right? They would be like, well, Mike, you can't listen to Mike because he has the genetics, he has money. I'm like, bro.
They give you all the points.
Like I was born.
But was your
like
confidence always there?
Oh, I've always, every level of my life, I had fun. I had a good life. Money or not. You know, money didn't change anything.
But see, that gives you, more than all the other shit they talking about, that gives you an upper on a larger part of society. You understand me? Just having that confidence, because that's the biggest thing when it's talking to anybody. You understand me? Specifically, you talking to a woman. You understand me? Because that's the energy you giving her, and that's the energy she gonna give you back.
Correct. You know, my mother treated me like a young prince. You know what I mean? So I had confidence all my life, right? And I was involved in sports, and I fought. I was a boxer, and I know I could fight and handle myself. That gave me confidence. And I would beat up the bigger kids. You know what I'm saying? That gave me confidence. And, you know, I always try to be good at the shit that I did. You know what I'm saying? So all of that gave me confidence, but I had confidence because I wanted to be a legit kid, like when I started lifting weights, I was like 12. I wanted to be good at my sport. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be really effective at my sport. Me and the homies racing. You know what I'm saying? We played every sport on the concrete. You know what I'm saying? Scraped up knees all the time, whatever. We did that. But we were training. We didn't know how we was preparing ourselves for the future. You know what I'm saying? Becoming formidable warriors. You know what I'm saying? And it's just fascinating. And it's disheartening to an extent how so many, like a lot of these creators, I'm not saying all of these guys, but some of these guys giving people such, and I would like, everybody was doing a video about Mike Rashid's, this video, like breaking down the videos, right? Oh, and
so it's one of them was having this moment.
Oh yeah, but it wasn't, none of them, not one of them said nothing disrespectful though. it'd be like the clowns in the comments, right? They couldn't really say it's nothing because they're trying to be
So
alpha
what type
males.
of stuff you say? I want to see if I agree.
What? I don't just me saying
Right.
nice things about women, bro. It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre because here's the reality of it.
A lot of fellas what they feeling.
Here's the reality of it. And I told them boldly, I said, you shouldn't be throwing stones at me. I'm the prototype of what you're trying to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm self-made. Powerful men respect me. You know what I'm saying? I'm wealthy. I create jobs and opportunities for a lot of people. I live how I want. And I can have any woman that I want. You know what I'm saying? This is what y'all want. It should be. You know what I'm saying? So, because they're trying to come up with these little cheap dating tactics and, the odds, like holler at 30 girls and 2 of them I'm like, nah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I tell them, like,
Do you
no.
think so I hear that, right? Because now it gets to the point where you get to a certain status, essentially, to where you can't even be relatable to the average man because, like, things like finding tactics and 2 out of 30, like, that's such a lower status. I'm gonna just call that.
Right.
You understand me? That once you get to a certain point, it's unfathomable for you to even think in that capacity.
Right.
You understand me? It's like a millionaire trying to think of ways to get $10.
It just seems like such wasteful time and energy.
Is.
And that's what I try to express to them. And I tell young men all the time. And you can look at through my videos, like throughout the years, I would give advice to young men, advice to guys trying to be trainers. I always said, leave the women alone.
Yeah.
Build your foundation, right? Become a valuable person, and your pool to select from will be greater.
Yeah,
it'll be that of more quality.
Too many people a lot of males spend most of their time chasing women instead of building themselves up.
That part.
You understand me? And so if you reverse that, you start building yourself up, then it becomes magnetized towards you.
That's it.
Anything that you chase is running away from you, whether it's money, whether it's
even
women,
money, right.
whatever it is you repelling it. You're always pushing it in front of you a little bit. You understand me? But once you stop and you just start adding value to yourself, knowledge, money, values, you understand me, relationships, like your status goes up, then automatically your pool, you understand me, grows larger as well. Your opportunities, your choices, your options.
And the thing is this, like, my thing is always, like, it's very important to me. I was telling you earlier, like, I get anxiety because of my responsibilities, right? Because I care about them so much.
Yeah.
And one of my responsibilities is making sure my little man becomes a productive member of society. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what I'm always aiming for. How can I be of value to my community, to whatever community? You know what I'm saying? So that makes you, everybody talking about this high value male shit, right?
Yeah.
And they're putting money on it.
Yeah.
I know so many lanes with money.
Yeah.
Had money for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is not a high value male. You know what I'm saying? A high value person is a person that a man of respect, a man of honor, a man of character.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So I want to segue to Mr. Kevin Samuels. What's your take on him? Because a lot of this rhetoric comes from that side. Like, what do you feel about what he's doing, what he's about?
Well, I look at it like this. And it's more so a sign of the times, because I'm sure that there's more Kevin Samuels out there that have a microphone and an opinion. But the sign of the times is the fact that there is a stylist from Atlanta, you understand me, who has very effeminate ways, being championed by males as the one where they should get their advice from when it comes to dealing with women or how to become a high value man. And, truth is truth, right? So if a person speaks truth, I'm in agreement. But at some point in time, the source of that truth does matter.
That part.
You understand me? Because number one, you can't disrespect women, right? And have a platform as if you're trying to help women. Those two different things just don't mix.
Right.
And so I think that just by de facto of who he is, you understand me, and the fact that there's so many males who didn't have a father figure in their life, it's a very telltale sign of the times. You understand me? Because as you said, being a high value man is not about your money. You understand me? Because as I said earlier, though, Yeah, spend time building yourself up, but not just your money. But so many men have only spent time making money that that's all they have to show for, because they believe that, well, that's all women want. And some men only want women who want the money, so that's all they get.
Because that's their value. That's their only value.
And so he's exploiting an aspect of society without teaching the true virtues and characters and exemplifying what a real man is, in my opinion, as well.
Unfortunately, all right, so just for the record, I don't speak about people behind their backs. This is the internet, and people have been saying, you should talk to him. I said, I would, no problem talking to him. You know what I'm saying? Open invitation. But this is how I feel about the whole situation. And I'm torn. I'm like, man, all right, that makes sense, but why are you talking to her like that? And I listened to him, right? And he is a sophist. He is one that just wants to argue because it creates great entertaining content.
Shock value.
Right? I actually went like a year back on his channel, and I was blown away about how vastly different he presented himself. Yeah. Like you said, it was very feminine, and I'm not trying to disrespect him, but it just was.
That's the reality.
It was. You know, all the videos was about fragrances, cologne. I was like, who does that? Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing. I would assume, I don't know, maybe a woman would talk about fragrances and makeup and shit like that. But whatever, to each their own. Listen, the man found a lane, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Right. I do think it's cheap, though, because he went viral telling the woman, you built like a linebacker. That's when he started blowing up, right? And it's like, that's damaging to that woman. It's damaging to other women. He makes them rate themselves and take out the 7.
Degrading.
Why are you taking out the 7? Why are you handicapping the argument? You know what I'm saying? Well, this is my platform. You call me. And he's right. They're calling him, which I don't understand why. Right?
But that's why I say it's a sign of the times. Yeah. Like we like characters that are polarizing. You understand me? And that's certain times, you understand me, polarizing characters go have a day. Right? We during the era of Donald Trump, he created the polarization. Right. You understand me? To where any figures that had that polarizing effect can be magnified, because that's where the attentions will give the masses will give their attention to. So for me though, it's like, what I don't like about the situation is, well, it's not even about a like. It's just what it exposes, right? And I see so many men who agree. I see men who stand behind it, but I also can see through those men. Like, y'all are hurt. You understand me? A lot of them are weak. A lot of them don't have game, don't have, men in their family. So there's an empathetic aspect of it. And then it's unfortunate that it's so many weak men, and this your godfather. You understand me? It's no way that me growing up as a man will look to somebody such as that, right, as any figure and exalt this person in public. There's nothing wrong with hearing some information and agreeing with logic. Logic and common sense is number one. You understand me? I can listen, but we was always taught to settle on the best parts. So yeah, when you speak truth, I'm rocking with you. Right. But I'm not gonna take the whole character and then publicly, exalt this person, because that's disrespectful.
You said something that I've been saying for a long time. My personal issue is the source of this information. Is it solid, right? It's not. Nah. If you look at the history of this person, you look at the history of my channel, it's very consistent. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This person was a complete 180 at a certain point when something caught on, right? And, I'm like, bro, you're not that guy. Nah. You're not that guy. You know what I'm saying? And furthermore,
he may be what society looks as the new masculine.
I don't think so. I can't subscribe to that.
Society. We're not talking about man. Our peer group, but we're talking about larger society.
Yeah. Well, it's just that. Before I get into that, so I listened to a few of his videos and I'm like, oh, okay, I see where you got this from. Are you familiar with the clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson? Mm-mm. He's dope. He's an actual clinical psychologist and deals with all types of issues with people. He went viral. Well, he became popular because a few years ago he was a professor at University of Toronto, and they made a law out there to where people had to use gender pronouns. He said, I'm not going to do that, right? He said, it's not that I'm not going to address you by your gender pronoun, but I'm not going to let a law make me do it. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with him. And so people started, knowing about him through that, and he became very popular. But the guy is solid. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of things that he said that I learned from. You know what I'm saying? Because for 30, 40 years, he's been counseling people. You know what I'm saying? Him having exposure to the internet is new, or the internet having exposure to him is new. But his foundation is solid, right? Seemed like a really good person,
right?
Good family. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these statistics that you hear Samuel's spouting is stuff that he's gotten from Peterson, but with zero context. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel like, because at first when I'm listening to Samuel, I'm like, he's trying to like create a perfect woman for himself. He's training women into thinking these things are the societal norms just for himself. But yeah, maybe. But he's also giving weak men an out.
Right.
And, women are seeing this, and I feel like, yeah, I guess so. It's bleak. It's bleak for me. You know what I'm saying? That's not reality for everybody, right?
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy the way that it's happening, right? And it's so popular. It's like, but like you say, every dog has his day. You know what I'm saying? And I always say this. I have a firm belief, and so far I have not been wrong, that when the truth is there and there's a lot of chaos and shit around it that look like it's superseding the truth, it never does. That dust will settle and that truth will still be standing.
Yeah.
And I feel like people will see this guy for who he is at some point. And I don't know who he is, you know what I'm saying? But he's not an authority on men and women or on relationships, on masculinity, any of that. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not going to sit here and question his sexuality because I see people doing that. I don't know nothing about this guy, right? And I don't want to disrespect him, to be honest, because he seems like a nice person. 'Cause I've seen interviews when he's not talking to the women that call up, that he seemed like a very sensible man. You know what I'm saying? But it's the interviews. They're very salacious. They're very, to me, it's dirty. It's cheap. It's a cheap way to get followers and traction.
Yeah, I think he's just an entertainer, and I think at a certain point in time, you got to just detach it and understand that this world that we live in, where media personalities can entertain, and sometimes they mix some truth in there with some falsehood. You understand me? And they catch a hook, and the people get baited into it. So I've never really put too much stock into him. I never watched the full video.
Right.
I've just seen the virality of it, and was disappointed with some men because I thought that they followed higher figures. You understand me? I thought that they had better sources. Right. And so for me, it was just showing like, man, what happened to the rules I grew up with?
Listen,
you understand me?
My sources outside of myself has been my father and the Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah.
That's it.
Same. My father, my brother,
That's
Honorable
it.
Minister Louis Farrakhan, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But as far as living figures, them three.
Yeah.
You understand me?
And
then,
my experiences.
Yeah, my experiences, me seeking intentional information to go learn. And I know, I'm going to make sure that I continue to provide for my platform, you understand me, substance to where young men can grow up and really understand what their true value is. Because, if you want to have sex with somebody and just get into any relationship, get some money so they can provide the resources to fund that. But if you want to create something meaningful as a family, establish wealth, then the values that you find in a man is going to be different beyond his money. You understand me? That's one resource. But character has to be deeply into that, right? And him being a real masculine figure has to be into that. And so that's where we draw the line when we're talking about what's high value and what's not. You understand me? Because it creates a very shallow society as far as what we look for in each other. And it's very damaging to our ability to create healthy families.
And women deserve that divine masculinity in their significant other. Yeah. They deserve that. That's necessary. That's how you have that balance.
So this word of alpha masculine has been running. Alpha man has been running around a lot, and then you got alpha women, right? And recently I've been seeing some men get called out by women on them not actually being alpha men, right? So from what I'm hearing,
How are they calling them out? Like, what are they saying?
I mean, shit, it was very blatant saying that you're not an alpha male.
Oh, just saying like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, but not giving any reasons on why.
Oh well, they gave reasons after it was broken down, and one guy was like, "What do you mean?" I'm the guy in my group. Like I take care of my family, and take care of everybody in my situation.
Right.
And she was like, "Nah, but that's not it. It's more than that, though. You understand me? It's a certain energy that you possess, a certain quality when you walk in a room." And to be honest, I understood what she was saying. You understand me? It's one thing to be, masculine, a provider, protector, producer, to be a man, right? But it's a certain energy, and I'm sure you experience it. You understand me? When you walk in a room and the atmosphere changes, the energy changes, you possess a knowing about yourself. You understand me? That has nothing to do with you taking care of responsibilities.
Right.
So, and I don't subscribe to the word alpha, but I understand the aspect of what she was getting at, because I would never argue with any man or woman about my status and position. You understand me? As far as how I see myself.
Right.
So to even do that takes you out the category in the running, because any man that knows himself is not going to argue with anybody else.
Right.
You understand me? That's knowledge of self. So it's like, what is, well, I guess, do you agree with that definition? Do you, like, as far as what would make a man an alpha, you understand me, versus, it's probably what we're trying to get is more so what makes him divine.
Right. For me, all right, there's attributes that exist like alpha or divine masculine and all of this stuff that I have never put upon myself, others have put on me.
Right. So
the very first meeting I had today was with a sister, and she just kept adorning me with that. You know what I'm saying? And she's a solid sister, right? So my woman adorns me with that. You know what I'm saying? Even in the workspace, right? Like my brother Sean, he had to pull me to the side one day because sometimes I'm quiet. I might be tired, ain't woke up yet. And he's like, bro, it's like everybody's walking on eggshells because they don't know if you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like, bro, I'm good. And I'm always like, in a certain times, some people are a little put off or a little like, I don't know if you good today, but you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm normal. Like, what's up?
Yeah.
So I understand that there is a certain type of presence and energy that some people carry. It's not like I did some push-ups to have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, maybe the culmination of the things of my life got me to this point. And I think the fact that, like, everybody's paths are different.
Yeah.
Everybody's circumstances that got them to where they are different. You had your brothers, your father. I never met your brothers, but your father, I never met him, but I listen to him speak. Incredible. You know what I'm saying? So I get why you're the way that you are. It's really dope seeing y'all sit down and build it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all even look alike. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But with me, my father was a fly dude intellectually. You know what I'm saying? My father put me on How to Eat to Live, Message to the Black Man, all of these books when I was a kid, right? And my father was a real dude. You know what I'm saying? He was locked up with Nicky Barnes. Like, he came up through that era of Brooklyn, of New York. You know, seen a lot of life, right? Son of immigrants. My mother, she had a hard life, so she was a strong woman. The epitome of what they say a black woman is, you know what I'm saying? So, and my mother was tough and kind of damaged to where, she was like extremely hard on me, you know what I'm saying? And that just made me strong. Then I was a father at a very early age. I think all of these things made me like level up to become a alpha or whatever, or divine masculine, whatever they say, because there's a lot of things that I had to care, people I had to care for at an early age, and I'm like that to this day. I care about my people to a great extent. My children and my woman, I care about them more than myself because I'm always good. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to exalt, provide comfort, wisdom, guidance. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what everybody I'm around. You know what I mean? So I have a deep level of empathy for people. If you look at chimpanzees, the alpha in their community, right? First of all, chimpanzees are very fucking violent. You know what I'm saying? They're wild. But in their community, the alpha, the leader, is not the biggest. He's not the most formidable, even though he is formidable. He's the guy that protects other chimps. You know what I'm saying? When somebody's getting their food taken, he goes protects it. He hugs them. Like, I've seen video of this, and I read a book called Sapiens. that breaks this shit down. It's like the history of human evolution. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting, and it makes sense. And I tell people all the time, like, when I was in the street, this is why part of my confidence too. I was at the top of the food chain in the street, right? Got out of it. I had to pay heavy consequences, but I did. And now I'm in a whole nother world, rising to the top. You know what I'm saying? And there, I had to lead out of love in the jungle. You know what I'm saying? Because cats that led out of fear and terror got killed by cats that was afraid of them. You know what I'm saying? Scared people kill. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm uncomfortable around this motherfucker, so, you know what I'm saying? Whenever. When you lead out of love, somebody will jump in front of a bullet for you. You know what I'm saying? And I've always been that guy. So I think all of these things, it's a lot. I don't know how we get to this point, but me and you relate on a lot of things. We're not typical people in whatever aspect of life that we're in. So, yeah, we fit the mold of the masculine, the alpha, whatever, but there's something different there. There's something else there as well. You know what I'm saying? And we were talking earlier business, and we both agreed upon the fact that there's purpose behind doing all of this way outside of money. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that matters. And these are ineffable qualities that people have, some people have, that you can't say is this, or it's his height, or it's just this, it's wild. It's something inside that just shines. You know what I'm saying? It's a God energy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And being tapped into that frequency.
Absolutely. You really can't explain it better than that. You know what I'm saying? The God energy is that big God energy, that energy that'll have you pushing and believing and doing beyond even a lot of times, understanding. It just has to be, it's gonna be done. You know, right? It's a force. You understand me? It's, God is described as power and force. So when you move with power and force, you being God. You are in that God being. And so men that move like that, no matter who you are, even if you don't understand yourself, you just have it. You understand me? And if you can cultivate that and it can grow, and then when you grow into an understanding of that, then you become really powerful. You understand me? Because that power is learning how to really move that force and understand that force. And then that divinity comes with putting morals and righteousness to that force and deciding that you're only going to move that power and force for good, right? And be divine and
that part
take care of others.
Is that, bro?
Yeah.
That's what it is. When you make a decision to only use that power for good. I had a conversation with this dude one time, and it was men and women, and this dude, maybe he felt like, here's the thing, I don't care about somebody's girl or whatever. I'm not competing for girls ever. You know what I'm saying? These guys don't understand, like, I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm saying? So my life is way more serious than what people realize. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, this guy was trying to virtue signal, right? Because we're talking about life and experiences and, the fact that, I had a turbulent upbringing and I've done some things, came up, and he was like, well, I mean, I've never done a crime, or I'm not violent. I'm like, I said, it's not that you're not violent, you're harmless. You know what I'm saying? You're harmless. I said, I'm not violent, I'm peaceful. You're not peaceful. You don't have the capacity for violence.
You are harmless.
You harmless. If you think about it, I have the capacity for violence, right? When I was, lost in the wilderness, I was violent.
Yeah.
When I found my way, I decided not to be violent. And to this day, I am not a violent person. I'm a peaceful person. Violence, it hurts my soul. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've done crimes in the past. I didn't fear the consequences. I dealt with it, right? I wouldn't do that again. All my energy and my efforts is being moved for good, right? So, this guy, I'm like, you trying to like virtue signal and make yourself out to be this great guy. You never done a crime because you're a pussy. I told him that. You're a pussy, bro. You're not the type of person to do that. Get the fuck out of here. If you can't just take $1 million right now, you wouldn't do it without getting caught. You would. You know what I'm saying? But you would need verification and proof that no one would ever figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not virtuous. You just sneaky. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we had to make that distinction. So it's like, nah, I choose to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I do the right thing.
I mean, it's a big difference between, the nature of a lion and the sheep. You know, if you walk through a field of sheep unscathed, no big deal. You walk through a field of lions unscathed, they must have been nonviolent. You understand me? Because the nature of the sheep is harmless.
Right.
The nature of that lion, you understand me, instinctual, a hunter. You understand me? It's apex.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not much to say that it goes to the statistics to say that black men are in the type of conditions that will make them more prone to criminality, right? And even though that white men don't find themselves in those same exact conditions that make them more prone to criminality, they commit crimes, more crimes. And so the question was, why don't black men commit more crimes, even though their situations, when you look at, you know, the lack of household, the poverty, the environment, will say that these men should commit more crimes based on more of them being in these situations. Right? And so it's because a lot of us, you know, we don't want to utilize our power for bad. Correct. We don't have a nature that is bad.
Correct.
You're often corrupted by environment at a younger age.
Correct.
You understand me? And sent in that direction. But even the reality that we deal with from our once oppressors, you understand me, shows you what our nature is. We have a very forgiving nature. And, and a lot 100%. Of times it's a very unfortunate reality because we don't grip our power, you understand me, and move by force and unify and do what we're supposed to do. And that's often exploited because we have such a good nature.
So true.
Like an amazingly good nature.
I mean, this is why we fell victim to colonialism.
Yeah.
Because we were not. People don't realize, like, if you look at, like, Shaka Zulu, like, he's known as this powerful warlord, whatever. Shaka Zulu, like, his people, you know what their wars look like? No bullshit. It looked like crump dancing, like mocking each other. You know what I'm saying? They didn't get violent until the British gave him gunpowder, like guns. Like, yo, you know you use this and that happens. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't even on that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, we learned.
He did develop the long spear.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the level of violence. He was the start of a lot of great violence. But prior to him, that wasn't the vibe.
He understood that it was necessary to keep the enemy at bay, because on his deathbed, after he was killed by his brother, you understand me. I went to Swaziland in South Africa, and they was giving us the stories and the breakdown, and essentially, he was like, y'all don't know what y'all just did. Like, I was the only one that understood our enemy enough to keep them at bay. You understand me? Y'all, it's a particular saying he said, but it was basically saying, y'all killed me, but that means that your death is certain now.
Right.
You understand me?
Right.
Because he understood that as long as he could deal with the Britons and his enemy a certain way, they wouldn't come and conquer the lands.
Right.
You understand me? That they didn't understand the propensity that these folks had for violence. You understand me? And how devilish that they actually were.
Right.
So after him, of course, they started losing.
Right.
But he was basically saying, no, I need to conquer all of this so that they can't conquer it.
Right.
You understand me?
Yeah.
Now, he was wilding after his mom died. You understand me? And that's why they, you know, got at him. But they also didn't understand that his violence was
necessary,
much better than what was to come if he wasn't there.
Right. And I tell people all the time, like, yo, if you look at us as violent, that's interesting, especially us here. We learned it legitimately.
Yeah.
We were dealt with violence.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
White folks didn't respect us when they seen a tribe. So they'll see a tribe, and if they seen just like the people being peaceful and there was no alpha in the group that led the pack and they didn't have strategies for war and trying to conquer each other, they didn't respect it. So they considered those people to be, what's the word, when the people are not that advanced. Primitive, yeah. So they had put that primitive word on them. Now, they would take all of the science, learn everything that they knew from them, strip them of that, and then conquer those same people. They were only primitive in their eyes because their nature was so good. Right? They didn't want to conquer.
Peaceful.
And so they couldn't understand why they had this potential to be great conquerors based on their mind, their intelligent aptitude of thought, because they were practicing, you know, geometry and had these advanced techniques and You talking about like the Dogon people being able to understand star mapping, but white folks can understand why they don't use this power to conquer. They don't even see us standing over their shoulder plotting on them.
Right.
You understand me?
Well, it was part of like where we come from, where they come from, right? It's like the great colonizers was Belgium, was Britain, was Spain and France, right? And those regions fucking suck. You know what I'm saying? Coal, no natural resources, things of that nature. Everywhere we was at, we had an abundance. You know what I'm saying?
Warmth, sun, good melody vibes.
And listen, everybody know. I've lived in Miami. I'm from New York, but I lived in Miami. I lived in Scottsdale, Arizona. I live in Southern California. Ain't no place like a sunny place. You know what I'm saying? Miami, waking up on the beach with the ocean, you feel better. You more positive. You know what I'm saying? Where it's cold, you hate it. Everybody in New York, the whole vibe is to get out of New York. Everybody go down south or out west. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. So these people hated where they were. They were like, what the fuck? So they had a certain necessity to like, I gotta have this. I gotta have this. Right. We didn't have that kind of energy. We was good. Yeah. We was like, hey, what's up?
There's a book on that. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan brought it to my attention when he was giving a breakdown on the time and what must be done, and it's called The Iceman Inheritance. And the author, who's a white guy, gives a breakdown on the difference in studying the nature, trying to understand his own people. And he come up with what's called the Cronus complex. And the Cronus complex gives a breakdown. He talks about, because he's growing up in these cold climates, right? And you know, in a cold climate, you're always having to survive. You're always having to move to keep warmth, right? Yeah. It's that hustler, it's that conquering energy, right? Where, you know, we grow up in a more warm climate, make us more relaxed. Like, that's survival, that's sun, that's life. So the nature of two different people, you understand me, by default, growing up in these different climates. So it's different, you know, they call it a stone cold killer. You understand me? That person that goes after you and just hunt you and take what's yours. It's that caveman mentality. And that also follows in Freudian theory of the Cronus complex, and it goes back to Greek philosophy and the same thing. They mention Cronus. And Cronus was this figure of time, right? Cronus held this sickle of time, and it represented, you know, the fight between the father and the son, right? That the Titan destroyed his children because he feared their power that they would grow up in, right? Or the Titans were destroyed. And it goes on to say that a chronon is an increment of time, like a second, right, or a minute. So saying that time is divisible. And it was saying that this was father time. And it spoke upon the fact that, you know, there's space territory and then there's time territory. And it got to a point where human beings wanted to be, instead of just spatial territory, I own this plot of land, I need to become a spatial territory where I own time. So this is my Bronze Age, right? This is my Iron Age. This is the age of the Greeks or the age of the Romans. We will own this period of time. And that had to happen more from a physical standpoint, but they had to conquer people from a mental standpoint, right? And that can be looked at. And then Freud talked about his Cronus complex, spoke upon how, and history, Europeans, they always regretted the woman last. Her value was always regarded based on what she can do for men. You understand me? She always seen herself in a reflection of how she'd be more man-like, and then she's more valuable. And that if she didn't produce a son, right, then she didn't have value. So then when she produced a son, he became more valuable than her instantly, right? So it's always been the man, the boy, then the woman. So it means that she's always last. Our people see man and woman, which creates a balance, masculine, feminine. His is masculine, feminine. So it never allows for balance to be in that society. And when things are always unbalanced, you have a world always at its pending end. You understand me? And so it speaks upon the nature of two different people and how we go about creating society, how we go about building worlds, and what we see as value. And that's why, you know, even when he's seeing the black man with the phallus symbol of strength, right, what they call, you know, Dr. Wesley gives a great breakdown in the Book of God when he talks about how they had to destroy, you know, the black bull, because that taurine represented, you understand me, the black god in primordial terms when you go back to symbology. And in real time, you understand me, they did all of these different ritual things to try to gain the power of the world. Because if you're a man and you meet another man in his place of conquering, he has greater intellect, physical capability, stamina, you understand me, big medingo hanging, you understand me, women everywhere looking good, plentiful, bountiful. Now your insecurities is popping. You understand me? So you know you're not going to just conquer this person physically. You have to deceive that person to make them forget who they are so you can conquer them mentally. Not only that, when we fast forward to where we are in society, how do they conquer things? Well, we got constitutions and Magna Cartas, paperwork. So we are living in the construct of another man's mind, right? And that's how he's conquering time, because when our children are born, they're going to be born under a construct of the Constitution. You understand me? It has nothing to do with our rule of law, what we think the universe is. He has to obey laws that was started by a man or a group of families. So just understanding the ideologies that we have towards conquering, completely different. We want to go conquer a block. We want to conquer a city. We want to conquer each other. We want to bully each other. Nah, they think about controlling the world.
Yeah, that microcosm of their behaviors is all we know, unfortunately, because we've been so far removed from our original wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Our geometry, our architecture,
Facts.
our understanding of the universe and cosmology, you know, which is egregious. And when I think about like the Greeks, you know, our society here is based on Greek tenets, Greek teachings, right? And the Greeks had a lot of dope shit, but the Greeks' teachers were us. You know what I'm saying? And you know, if you study like the Kemetic mystery system, and you know Socrates and all of these guys came to study, right?
Yeah.
The Arabs, the Europeans, they all came to Africa to study, or Kemet, Nubia, all of these regions, right?
Right.
And you know, it was a 40-year university. The longest any of the Europeans ever stayed was maybe 8 years, right? So, and they in their writings, they're like, they need to just give us the information. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and then they sacked our libraries and our temples and destroyed them, right? Because colonial times had to erase any contributions of us to justify slavery and a lot of the atrocities that came with it. So what's unfortunate to the world we live in, and everybody's enjoying this dope society, is we're living on partial information. We don't even know. That's crazy to me that we don't have these teachings anymore. We're so far removed from it. And then we're even further removed from it than them, because it was illegal for us to read when we were free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to really accelerate that learning curve. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. Here, bro.
I agree though. You understand me? There's a lot that has to happen in order for us to control our time again. You understand me? And be in control of our mind again.
Correct.
You understand me?
Correct.
Like,
so question for you. Do we try to figure out what was lost, or do we create the new right now?
So I don't think it's more so about figuring out per se what was lost, because I think that the information exists. It's knowing which source to believe, right? One of the bigger issues that we have is we can't agree on source, right? Like everybody wants to have their own special ideology, right? And that's the one thing that we differ from other people. They can agree on source. They can say, listen, we may disagree on a lot of different things, but somebody got to be God. Everybody's God can't be right, and we can't all be banging each other gods. You understand me? Can we agree that we came from Kemet? Can we agree that we were Moors? What history can we even agree on to begin with? You understand me? And so we have to have like a council that decides it. You understand me? Because if you allow the world to figure it out, our people to just figure it out, that can go on for thousands of years.
Yeah.
There has to be a council, the same way that there's people in every race that decides what the Constitution is, what history is, right? Then we need a council that same way to decide that, okay, we decided to gather all the information, right? And this is the timeline that we decided to agree on that we're going to teach. You understand me? Because that's going to be the most progressive way that we can start evolving. Because you can't evolve unless you are taking parts of the past and building it into the children in the present. You understand me? So you go take Noble Drew Ali, you go take Marcus Garvey, you go take the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you go take Frederick Douglass and Fred Hampton and Malcolm X and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and whoever I forgot and I missed. Right. And you're going to teach those ideologies because each person had one thing that they did better than the other.
Right.
And what you want to do is, how do I give, right, these children all of the frequencies of the gods that existed? You understand me? Because they have the ability of going to the Romans, going to the Greeks, going to the Phoenicians, you understand me? And looking at history and drawing from energy of the past and saying, this is who I am. So, of course, they don't want to destroy that because they draw from it. But where do we draw from? If they can think back and think that, they goddamn ancestor is Zeus, right? We only think our ancestor was a slave. Right. You understand me? That's a completely different feeling. Yeah. And when we do draw back to Kemet and Nubian, we still can't even agree. It's still like I think they black, but it could have been white. You understand me? Like we just don't have absolutes.
Yeah, I mean, there are the inside of the pyramid still have the exact hieroglyphs of people, the color of your shirt.
My cousins.
You know what I'm saying?
Those are my cousins. It is, you can't tell me nothing different.
It's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, you're right, bro. And I think it's happening, especially with people like us. I think, it's time to be more deliberate about education and retelling history the way that it was, and also planting that seed of confidence and that God seed in these God children. You know what I'm saying? Because people growing up, bro, thinking that it's about, and I don't want to knock rappers. 'Cause I love rap music. I love the energy and the feel. It changed the world. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's just one aspect of us. You know what I'm saying? So, man, we've done, and I look at us here in particular in a very interesting way. Black people in America, United States.
Oh yeah, we special.
Yeah, man, because there's no blacks anywhere else in the world, producing what we're producing here, right? And I don't know why. Maybe they created a monster. You know what I'm saying? They whooped us into like some great things. You know what I'm saying? And the breeding, who knows, whatever it is. And I'm sure it's a combination of the abundance of resources that's here. You know what I'm saying? So, but whatever, we making it happen. You know what I mean? And it's beautiful to see. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's super refreshing to build with people like you.
Likewise.
Because it's sparse. Yeah. It's sparse, But I and the brothers that I do build with and I get a lot from, they behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying? And for understandable reasons, they kill our leaders, you know what I'm saying? Which is egregious and it's disheartening. But it makes me think of like different strategies and more creative ways to be like mycelium, like these neural networks all throughout the earth and be effective. Because my thing is being effective. Yeah. It's not necessarily being heard or the guy that did this. It's being effective at the bottom line. So my mind is always thinking about how can we get in that room over there? Yeah. Get one of us over there. You know what I'm saying? And it's coming together.
I think of it like this. Before I ever thought of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was wearing the crown, the starry crown on his head. And I don't wear it because I believe I got to an exalted position and I move as honorable, I have the same knowledge and information or message or whatever, you understand me, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's not to make mockery or anything of that nature. It is to present, a consciousness that otherwise would have not been there. It's to create a bridge, you understand me, because symbols are so powerful, right? Sun, moon, and stars. And when I can see a person who, they buy a crown from me, and I see them walking down the street with the sun, moon, and stars on their head, and they hit me up and be like, Keys, man, every time I put this on, I feel like a god. I get so much respect.
That's dope. Yeah.
And then I can bridge them to knowledge of self, because then they want to know source. Right. And I always like to go to root source. Understand me? Why was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad inspired by the sun, moon, and stars in the first place? Right? Why are the Akan people, you understand me, inspired and represent chieftain in their village, and multitude of different cultures throughout time looked at the cosmic order? And he said something. He said that we wear the star and crescents on our lapel and on our heads to represent our rulership and nothing more. It represents that those things come from us. We don't come from them. You understand me?
Correct.
The stars are children of God. You understand me? God is not a child of the star. And that means a lot to me, because gang culture was taught to us in a very specific manner. It was spread by individuals, and it was also spread by media. Media such as Colors taught us ritualistic behavior on how to bang. It spread the propaganda of gang culture, right? And what about God culture? How are we utilizing those same tactics and strategies to spread a new culture to a new generation? Because that generation don't know nothing about the founders of gangs. They don't know nothing about the exact corners, streets, brotherhood, things it was started about. But they following it today. And it's negative in the light that they follow, because we use it to murder each other. So if I can create a bridge in the same manner that was created on the opposite side by crowning a generation, and then it be a bridge to them tapping into their godhood, then I believe that I have done some work on this planet. And I believe that each person should pick something that they bring that is a bridge and that is a weapon to fight the world that they trying to build versus the world that we need.
Right. Brother. Yo, we could do this all day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I got to do some school shopping with my son, with my seed. But no, I appreciate you for coming down, bro.
Appreciate you for having me in the
with your
mothership.
wisdom. Yes, sir. Anytime. You
Yes,
know what I'm saying? And yo, make sure you check out Key's YouTube channel. The link's down below. And we out of here. Peace.
Work.